Hello, Christopher Yaks here with Yaks Yoga Concepts and the Awaken Life movement. And today I want to talk to you about how do you access your most passionate life, your most passionate existence? And specifically in relationship to the things that we do, meaning the food that we eat and how we work out and sex. And it's really what I'm talking about is relationships. How do we access our most passionate existence in relationship to relationships? And not just relationships with significant other and my family and stuff like that, but relationship to everything that I do, everything that I consume, everything that I my passions, my hobbies and all that stuff. So what's interesting is that I wonder if you've found things in your life, if you've heard yourself say I have to have this in my life. In fact, I need it so much that my personality and my mood is all tied to its presence in my life. And the real question, and none of this is judgy, everyone makes their choices, but the real question is at what point do those things take over us? What point do we release our control and our power to the things that we're doing? Meaning, if I wake up in the morning and I have to have, it's funny, I feel like we're always using coffee as the example, but I have to have coffee right in the morning, first thing, 3, 4, 5 cups, because if I don't, my whole day is ruined. The question isn't whether that's good or bad, is how much control do you have over that? And so the answer, the first thing, so it's I'm gonna talk about the 4 ways to unlock your most passionate life. And what I want to really describe in the first one is notice what you tell yourself you can't live without. And those are the things, because what we say we can't live without are the very things that have become out of balance for us. And I would submit to you that it's not, I'm not judging anyone for it, but the question then becomes is do we still enjoy it? And so the answer for most of us, if think about just the nature of me saying I have to have this in my life, or I am less of a person, I'm in a worse mood, I'm struggling to energetically make it through the day. It's really just a relationship with the management of our power. And so once we realize what this is, what are the things that we feel we can't live without? I'm kind of a late bloomer in the coffee drinking world. I never drank it at all when I was through high school and even through college. And it was probably about, I would say, I know the exact date, 2014, when my oldest daughter was born, the first was born, and I was as sleep deprived as I've ever been. I was this coffee thing's pretty good. So just really interestingly, just about a month ago, I started noticing, prior to that, 2 months ago, I started drinking it every single day. And a month ago, I started noticing, man, I'm not feeling the buzz anymore. I'm not getting the energy that I once got from it. And so my response was, well, let me up the caffeine. And so I started drinking an extra cup every day. So I'd have 2 cups. And then I started feeling that again. And I was but wait, there's something here that I teach that I'm now experiencing firsthand. And this obviously isn't the first time I've ever experienced giving my power away to things, but for this, it's such a good example because coffee and caffeine is super addictive. And I started realizing that what was once enjoyable, I actually in the moment saw the transition to it came an enjoyable, an allowance that I appreciated, and I felt the pivot into I have to have it. I need it because I'm not getting the same amount of energy in my day to make it through the day. And right at the same time, John came back from a trip and he had done some research and he was man, you gotta check this stuff out with coffee. And there was science behind what I was feeling. And it was basically saying that at a certain point, what you drink will no longer give you the amount of energy that it once did. In fact, it'll lower your baseline energy levels. And then you have to double the amount to get to that same experience. And so it made so much sense to me with the people in my life that are like, no, I gotta have a couple cups of coffee. Like, that's how I wake up. And it's because they've been doing it just for so long that it's become a necessity, like literally a physiological need just to maintain energy levels. And what I submit is that, are we passionate in that moment? Are we really enjoying it? If it becomes a need, then the answer is no. I have to have it to get a certain experience that in like a prior moment of my life, I didn't need it. So here's the next question. Remember the time before it was in your life, right? If you go back far enough, I guarantee at like 3 and 4 years old, you did not wake up and were like, Mom, I'll take an espresso. I got to get my day started before I go play outside in the playground. No, because you had like boundless energy when you're that age. But at a certain point, like you decided to try it. And so from the moment that it wasn't in your life, why this is so valuable is that it really shines a light on, do I really need it? It feels like it's just me. Like I have to have it. That idea that like it is like a necessity in my life. The remembering that there was a period in your life where you didn't do it and you functioned just fine is like, wait a second, now I have some perspective of like, man, maybe okay, if there was a point in my life where I didn't need it, maybe there's an opportunity for me to at least moderate it. Like so the bigger conversation we're having is really about moderation, and moderation being the access point into our most passionate existence. So when you go back to that time, and literally you may have to go back on certain things like, to like really, really like youthful, like 7, 8 years old, 9, 10 years old, but back before we started like drinking alcohol, before we started, drinking coffee, before we started having sex, before we started, smoking weed, before we started working out, because these are the things that we're talking about, like that we have relationships with, that we give our power to, and once we give our power to it, it no longer is enjoyable. It becomes a necessity, a need. And once you've gotten to that point, no judgment, you're just not enjoying it. It's not as passionate. It becomes like a physiological necessity to experience yourself in a way that at one point in your life, you didn't need to experience that same sense of self. So next one, third one, remember the enjoyment you got from it at the beginning. So like there's a period of time where you didn't do it, and then you started doing it, and it was like, whoa, coffee is the best. And you look forward to it. Oh, and then like it's warm in the morning, and you drink it, and you're like, I am gonna get shit done today. I'm so excited. And then like there's a period of time, and that may have been months, it may have been even years, where you just like you look forward to it in a way where when you were consuming it, and again, I'm just using like coffee as an example, but it's the consumption of like TV, it's the consumption of like working out. How about that one? Something that you'd be like that's no problem, but do you have to work out to feel like you're your best self? I'm not saying working out is an issue, but when it diminishes your sense of self, when it's something that you can't do in a day, that's what we really want to look at, because that's what diminishing the passion, right? It's diminishing our experience of life. When we feel a lesser sense of self, if we can't do something, that's where we become out of balance. And that's really what we're looking at. So remember that time when it was really enjoyable, and then make a plan to bring back the joy. So what was so interesting in finishing the story, I talked to John about there's the science behind coffee and what it does when you drink it regularly. And so he and I made a plan. He was like, so what they said is like, you have to just take breaks, intervals. And what I remember is when I was like drinking it every single day a month ago, it became this like, I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I love the flavor of it. I grind my own beans. I have a French press. I make it bulletproof, so I'm putting like coconut oil and ghee in it, and I put it in a blender, and I like put my hemp milk and some honey, and so it's a process, and I like the ritual of it, and I love the flavor of it, but I wasn't enjoying the experience of it anymore. So my plan was, you know what, I'm gonna take 4 days off, and then I'll be on 3 days, off 4 days. And I tried that, and I was like, no, that doesn't work. But then so what I'm doing now is like, I take a day off and I do a day on. I drink coffee one day, I don't do it the next day. And what it's done for me is, I kind of miss it on the days off, but I have this like thing that I'm looking forward to. Like it literally becomes a more passionate thing because I'm like, oh, tomorrow I'll make coffee and this is the experience. And I don't notice like lower energy on the day that I don't drink it. But what I've noticed is like what's been reinfused in my life is like, I'm really enjoying it again. And so maybe it's not coffee for you, right? Maybe it is working out. Maybe it's even yoga, right? When I don't make it to my yoga class, don't talk to me. I'm not the person you want to be around if I can't get my yoga in, right? That's really something to look at, because the whole idea, like the core, like the root of yoga is to be able to experience yourself as you are without needing any conditions to be in like certain places so that you feel like you're a better self. Again, all of these things can potentially enhance our experience of living, but when it becomes out of balance, we lose passion, we lose enthusiasm. And that's really where we want to look at taking a break, making a plan, whatever that is, so that you can bring back the joy of doing what you're doing and you don't feel like you're a victim of it. You're not giving your power away to it, so that we can live our most passionate lives in relationship to the things that we love to do the most. And so, here's the deal. What I'd like you to do, if you're like game for this, is whatever this was for you. Maybe it's coffee, maybe it's working out, maybe it's, I don't know, whatever it is for you. You figure that out. But the challenge is, try taking a break from it. Maybe it's 15 days. Maybe it's 30 days. Here's what I know to be true. Whatever you do, when you take a break from it, you get really clear about why you do it. And that information is gold, because it gives you this perspective, this self-awareness as to why you're doing it in the first place, the joy that you once derived from it, and then where you are now in relationship to it. Like, is it still joyful, or is it now something that is a necessity? And so I really hope this helps. Take the challenge, let us know how it goes, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.